Belief from the unknown. It is this belief that is solely responsible for the elevation of developed societies. It is the only reason that can be given for purpose and direction beyond pain and pleasure, aka positivity and utility, of which are not causally related. A broken society does not fix itself because it is broken. It fixes itself because it has a standard to compare it to. Likewise, developed society does not fall victim to involution because it loses control or faith of its developed consciousness. It does because it projects and promotes less evolved dark patterns in the collective consciousness for the sake of equality. If you are even the least bit read in philosophy, you will know that many of the topics I am discussing are Nietzschean. But I am also highlighting what I believe he got wrong and was projecting the anti-religious cellulus. He was an anti-social man, and this caused these grave errors to occur. It is crucial to integrate the biological, psychological, and social societal when addressing anything from a scientific perspective, which he was often academics are so far removed from the average person in society through their perceived moral superiority, which modernity has commodified as anti-racism. It's no coincidence, though by no fault of his own, many of his works laid the foundation for the National Socialists, aka the Nazi Party. This is disputed because it is said that his sister edited all his works other than Thus Spoke Zarathustra posthumously. I believe it was also due in part to the denial and then projection of God into the Harvanzarity or slave morality. Due to his enormous misanthropic and misogynistic tendencies stemming from first his refusal to participate in belief, and then the social and society projection of him in return. In closing, the reader is encouraged to point out the hypocrisy of anti-religion and anti-belief if it is ever even loosely correlated to anti-racism. This is a false equivalency that only serves the purpose of compressing human thought. The act of compressing is enhanced in the midline by bringing the lower aspects up while bringing the higher aspects down. The only possible outcome this can lead to is an animalistic sacrifice of the more developed end of society by an underdeveloped underclass. As it has been said before, equality of opportunity should be prioritized over equality of outcome at all costs. In my next essay, I will discuss how socialism and communism were the precursors to fascism. From socialism to fascism. From the days of early Greece and Rome, we've had a modern form of government. Greece was a republic, while Rome was a democracy. The primary difference between these two systems is that in a democracy, the power rests in the majority. In a republic, the power rests in elected officials. So who protects the will of the minority while balancing the will of the majority in this form? Essentially, a minority elected by the majority out on the South, and the North was the first to invade. The South was democratic based solely on the fact that they made more money due to tobacco and cotton industry